Alrighty, well, now we come to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which I mentioned in my Prisoner of Azkaban review is probably my favorite of the books. And as for the movie, I really liked it. It's, geez, after the first one, it's probably my favorite. Um, if I had to rank it, this would probably be my second favorite of the series. And once again, it's a shift in director. No more quirky gothic humor from Alfonso Cuarón because he only directed one of them. And now the director is Mike Newell, and what he really brings to the table. There are a lot of new players in this. Basically, the plot is a little bit different this time around. Instead of just having a normal year at Hogwarts, yeah, normal year at Hogwarts, um, the school is playing host to basically a tournament. It's only for Hogwarts seniors, students who are in their last year at school, and it's basically this thing called the Tri-Wizard Tournament, and basically three different wizarding schools come together in one of the schools, whichever one is playing host, and one student from each school is chosen after several of them voluntarily put their name into the Goblet of Fire. And on the night that these Triwizard champions are announced, the Goblet of Fire spits out a random name from each school. Now, the thing is, of course, Harry Potter's name gets put in there, but he didn't put it in there. Someone else did. And the thing is that this tournament is very deadly. Yeah, unlike a lot of other stuff at Hogwarts, like Quidditch. Quidditch is not at all dangerous, or dueling, or the Dementors in the third year. Basically this series version of Ring Wraiths. But this tournament pits students of their own accord because they volunteer for this. It pits them of their own accord against a host of obstacles, and these obstacles are a mystery until they actually get until they actually reach said obstacles. There are three challenges. And basically these wizards are completely in the dark as to what they will be facing in these challenges until right up to when they face it. So yeah, of course the cast is expanded this time around, like it is basically every time. But like I said in Prisoner of Azkaban, and what still remains very true here, is that the performances from the three lead actors, Radcliffe, Grint, and Watson, are all very good. They have gotten better. They keep getting better, and I honestly think all three of them have the acting chops to pursue a career outside of Harry Potter, especially Emma Watson. And I've seen all of them in things outside Harry Potter, and they've done well. But I digress. Let's see. Michael Gambon is still good as Dumbledore. I'm not gonna say oh, he's not as good as Richard Harris, because I don't want to toot that horn too much. Michael Gambon is still good as Dumbledore. Alan Rickman and Maggie Smith are really kind of pushed to the back this time around, because this movie really is just filled with stars that I can't really blame the writer too much for not being able to find something for Maggie Smith and Alan Rickman to do, but they're fine. They're still memorable in the scenes that they have. I mean, they still lend gravitas. They still have presence. Same with Gary Oldman, though. Gary Oldman is reduced to a cameo, a digital cameo, because basically what happens is that Harry contacts Sirius Black, and whereas in the book, he actually meets up with Sirius Black at one point in a cave, I believe it was. Here, the only interaction, the only scene that Gary Oldman has is a digital version of his face, forms in a fireplace, and he's basically offering Harry advice. That's his only scene. But to be fair, he does a good job in that scene, and I like the effect they go for, where his face basically forms from the ash and cinders of the fire. So I like that effect more so than the effect that they went for when they did the same thing in the later movies. But again, I digress. Let's get to the new players. We have Brendan Gleeson as Mad-Eye Moody, an ex-Auror. And an Auror, I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, but an Auror is basically kind of like the modern day equivalent of a CIA agent. He basically catches criminals. The Aurors are basically the equivalent of Homeland Security, or like I said, CIA agents, or OSS, whatever you want to call it, or whatever branch of specialized law enforcement you prefer. That's basically what Aurors are to the Wizarding world. And Mad-Eye Moody is an ex-Auror, and Brendan Gleeson, he goes pretty over the top, but it's kind of that Willem Dafoe-esque over the top that just kind of works. And he doesn't do it all the time. He only does it about 50% of his performance is just he's just kind of raging. But again, somehow it works because they established this character as being a little off his rocker, or very off his rocker, and you believe that someone with this type of design, because he's got this dirty trench coat, he's got this unkempt hair, he's got a fake eye, or I forget from the books, is it fake or real? I don't know. But he's got this eye that's kind of strapped to his head that can see out of the back of his head. He's got this big cane, so and he just kind of over exaggeratingly limps everywhere. So I would assume that a character with this type of eccentric design would have an eccentric personality, and I think Brendan Gleeson pulls that off. Again, a little too over the top at times, but still, I enjoyed him as the character. Miranda Richardson is also a lot of fun as Rita Skeeter, this very nosy, very very snooty reporter chick. She's clearly having fun, as is Brendan Gleeson. She's I don't know if they were trying to do some kind of social commentary on this, on the paparazzi, but Miranda Richardson's character is just so stereotypically paparazzi. She's all glamorous. When she walks, she swings her hips. She has this floating notepad and pen that follows her around and jots stuff down. Jots everything down. So if she gets even an inkling of any kind of dirt on you, then that's going on the notepad. If you say anything that could possibly damage your reputation, it's going on the notepad. So I like her design, and I like Miranda Richardson as the character, it's a real shame that they couldn't really fit her into the later movies like they did in the book, but I understand you have to take some liberties with the story, especially with books like these with so many characters. I mean, you obviously can't have all the characters in here. Robert Pattinson is in this movie, pre-Twilight. And he does a good job. He plays Cedric Diggory, the Hogwarts Triwizard Champion. And basically what basically what he amounts to is that this could have easily just been a bland, forgettable, nice guy character, but Pattinson actually gives it a little bit of edge. Pattinson actually makes him kind of distinct. He makes him kind of he makes him a. I'm trying to think of the words to describe it. He seemed the phrase I can describe him with is friendly competitor. I mean, he harbors no spite against Harry, and he is perfectly willing to help Harry if Harry helps him. So yeah, he's just a likable character for what little they give him to do. And I think part of that has to do with Pattinson's performance. So Pattinson's good in the movie. The other two Triwizard Champions are fine. They're not really all that memorable, though. They're not really given much personality. But again, this is just so massive, and of course you were going to have to cut stuff. So if you had to cut the personality of the other two champions, then I don't really think you were going to lose much in terms of the story. I know that's kind of ignorant for me to say, like, oh, these characters don't have to have personality, but this movie is very long as it is, so I think if they try to develop everything from the book, this would be Lord of the Rings length. This book is so huge and so rife with detail that they actually toyed with the idea of splitting this into 2 movies. This was back in 2005 before they were doing that. Before they were doing what has now become a common trend nowadays. But the final 2 people I want to mention, the 2 newcomers I want to mention, are David Tennant and Ralph Fiennes. David Tennant is in this movie, Doctor Who. I don't know exactly which Doctor Who he is. I mean, what number Doctor he is, but he's kind of in that same boat as Brendan Gleeson, where he's actually pretty menacing in just how crazy he is. He pulls off the crazy very well. He does a very, very good job at, despite being admittedly very over the top. I mean, if he was trying to nail crazy, he got that down. And Ralph Fiennes plays Lord Voldemort. Finally, in the flesh, we see Voldemort, the main villain of the series. He gets resurrected, and Fiennes does a good job. I mean, he does a solid job. He's got presence, even though he's shorter than a lot of his followers. I have mixed feelings about the design, though, because on one hand, it would make sense that he wouldn't really have a lot of facial features like facial hair or hair of any kind. I can understand wanting to make him look serpentine, but they digitally remove his nose. It just looks awkward. And it doesn't look any less awkward in the later movies. But I'll get to that. This is Ralph Fiennes' best performance in the series, in my opinion, because he is actually scary, and as the time goes by when he is on screen, he steadily. Let me try and explain this. When he first gets resurrected, it's like he's just getting out of bed. It's like he's just awakening from a long slumber. He's kind of running his hands over his head, kind of taking these deep breaths, kind of assessing his new form, how he can possibly be in physical form again. And as the scene goes on, he seems to come alive more and more. I don't know if they were trying to. I don't know if that's what they're going for, this kind of gradual build. But good job on the director's part. Good job on Ralph Fiennes' part. And speaking of the director, Mike Newell does a very good job in lending this movie the appropriate larger scope, because seeing as this is a tournament of wizards, and and plays host to two other wizarding schools. And this is a very large book, especially in comparison to the other three books, the previous three books. I think it had to have a bigger scope than the previous three, and Mike Newell succeeds in that. This, honestly, it's almost directed like a Peter Jackson movie, a modern day, big budget, big scope Peter Jackson movie. Um, because you have the sweeping shots, you have the, I don't know, it's just filmed so it's kind of like they're at the Olympics. It's filmed very much like this is one event that does not happen very often. This is a big, huge event. So props to the direction on that. Um, and I also really like the designs of these two other schools, although I have to question because only a handful of students from each school show up. Only about 10 of each school show up. 10 from the all-girls wizarding school and 10 from the all-boys wizarding school. So I have to question, are these like very private schools? I, I don't know. It's been a long while since I read the book, but design-wise, they do a very good job of differentiating them. They do a very good job of making them distinct. You are never going to confuse a student of Beauxbatons with a student of Hogwarts, and likewise, you are never going to confuse a student of Durmstrang with a student of Hogwarts. So I like props to the costume design, and I also like the production design. This is a very well made movie, both on a technical aspect and performance wise. And one final thing I feel I have to mention is the music. This is the first Harry Potter movie without John Williams. John Williams he did a great job in providing a very distinct, very memorable theme from Harry Potter. John Williams pretty much always does a good job. I mean, he's one of the greatest composers in film history, I think. But Patrick Doyle, he also does a very good job. I really like Patrick Doyle as a composer, and from what he had to, from the high standards that he had to kick off from, this score is definitely more grand and orchestral than the scores for the previous movies. A lot like the direction, it just feels bigger. It's a lot more. The score just makes the whole thing feel much larger. So, yeah, all in all, I really like this movie. It's my favorite since the first one, and I recommend it. Now we come to Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.